Welcome to the Phil and the Kid podcast. I'm Phil Gardner.
And I'm Spiro Versalis.
And today we're joined by our colleague, friend, investor, joint venture partner, and all-around great dude, Billy Hsu. Welcome. Welcome to the Phil and the Kid podcast, Mr. Billy Hsu.
Thank you for having me. I'm really honored here.
Well, that's good.
Yeah.
I'm glad you're honored.
This is your big break.
Yeah, I know, my YouTube debut.
Yeah, Billy's YouTube debut. That's right.
How come you guys don't have a makeup trailer?
Not yet.
By now. I'm expecting makeup trailer, like have my hair done. So.
I think we need to start our start a Patreon now so that we can afford to
Get
get
Billy's
our guests.
hair done.
Yeah, so that Billy can afford to get his hair done. That's exactly it.
All right, so why don't we give a nice introduction to our second guest and our 2-month anniversary podcast guest. We've been doing this for two podcasts.
Two whole months.
2 months.
8 whole episodes.
Wow.
Congrats, Billy. You are our
Good for you guys.
8th episode, 2-month anniversary guest.
There we go. So,
Yeah. Let's talk about Billy.
let's talk
So,
about
I mean, we have somebody on, a guest here, talking a little bit about their story, right? Where Billy is, most of you probably don't know, Billy is another agent from our brokerage on our investment team, and also an avid investor himself. So we thought, hey, let's have Billy on, talk about his story, talk about where he came from, what he's doing now, all that type of fun stuff. But I think before we jump right into that, since he is an agent with our brokerage, just like we usually go over our weekly updates, why don't we dive in on everyone's weekly fun deal updates? We'll let Spiro get started.
My fun deal updates.
Or
Wow.
fun weekly updates.
So last week, there's actually a few good deals that I found on the market. Sent it out to clients. One of them didn't really go through, but there's interest on the third one I sent out.
Nice.
This one is let's cross our fingers, but it looks pretty good. It's coming. We're gonna go see it tomorrow. Pretty good opportunity in Corso Italia. Already split up into 3 units.
It's good.
It looks pretty nice. It's good potential. So hopefully that goes well. It looks like there's good bones to it. Everything inside's already pretty nice. Can get vacant possession, which is always a bonus. Most of the time.
For 3 units.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. It's great. It's just the property is listed. It's overpriced right now.
Right.
So that's scaring a lot of people off. And especially when they see the tenant that's in there right now with low rent, it's definitely scaring some people off. And that's actually what happened in the first deal I sent out.
Right.
It was the same sort of thing where there's tenants on the top floor in the basement, all paying very low rents. And the average investor is going to see that and see it as a red flag and not offer, a good price.
Yeah, it's a little tougher to make it work, right? If you can't get it vacant, and those guys are going to stick around forever at that low rent, makes it a little bit tougher.
Exactly, but both of the listing agents did tell me that they can give vacant possession 2 to 3 months, which is great. I mean, again, the common investor will probably see something like that, back away from a deal like that, where our team will kind of know how to handle each situation.
Dig a little deeper, get that.
Yeah, either the price is going to go down, or you're going to get it vacant possession, or the rents are actually good and you can keep the tenant in for a year or however long. That's more rare, but you can find that. So that happened. It was a pretty good week. What else happened? Other than that, I think it's the elections coming up.
It is election time.
So I
it's
guess
election day, so you should have already voted by the time you hear this.
Yeah, by the time you hear this, the new prime minister will have been elected. So we'll see how that goes. And then also kind of changed up my diet. I think Filthy Phil, Keto Guido Phil.
rubbed off on you, eh?
Yeah.
Glad I could do you some good.
Yeah, he kind of rubbed off on me a little bit. That's kind of a weird way to put it, but he's been doing keto now for how long?
I think we're going on week 4.
Week 4. So, that's pretty big.
I know.
Nice.
So far, so good. I'm not going too crazy as we sit here and crush beers with super low carbs.
Yeah. No more Lion coffee this episode.
No. Sponsored by
Unfortunately.
Michelob Ultra. No.
It's gonna be some more fun.
It is. So as you guys could see if you're watching, if you're just listening, we are drinking Michelob Ultras. This is due to the request of our guest, Billy.
The official beer of the Keto
I'm trying to
Guido.
get you guys a sponsor here.
Thank you. Go ahead.
Yeah, this
Thanks
is
for
our
listening.
first episode while we're actually drinking. We thought we would actually be doing this a little more, but
We're getting
I don't
into
know.
our groove. We're getting
we're getting comfortable right now. So
It's later in the afternoon. It's the appropriate, acceptable time.
yeah, barely.
Well,
How about you, Phil?
11:30, but no, it's
It's not 11:30.
Definitely well beyond 11:30 at this point. Billy's gonna get everyone thinking we're a bunch of drunks, which maybe isn't terribly far from the truth. But
It definitely falls. How about you, Phil? How was your week?
my week, a day in the life or a week in the life. We had our Whitby listing go live last week, which was pretty sweet. Nobody expected. I mean, I didn't expect it was going to be that crazy out in the Whitby market, but it was priced around $550. Nice entry level home. We spent a few grand to spruce it up before we hit the market. So it was absolutely insane. We had 3 offers on day one, but we weren't even prepared for it because our client was like flying back from Europe at the time. We didn't expect something to happen so soon.
Yeah, it was really quick.
Very quick. So we pushed out a couple days and did an offer date. I think it was Thursday of last week. So we had 4 offers. We ended up getting full ask, short conditions. So we're conditional now, but that's going pretty. I mean, as good as we could have expected. That's for sure. Had another offer. So the same night that we had an offer date for our listing, there was an offer date for another property that a client was interested in. So I'm kind of struggling in the office there, taking offers, looking at offers, and making offers, and dealing with that at the same time that night. So that was fun. We got pretty close. Conditions, I think, in terms of conditions and closing, we were in the lead. But unfortunately, their max budget just kind of capped out before somebody else's. So we did not get the purchase deal on the same night. That would have been sweet.
Would have been a nice day's work.
Yeah, no kidding. But that's okay. I mean, it gets them going. It was pretty positive given that we knew we were stronger in terms of all the rest of the conditions. So I think it'll only be a matter of time with those buyers. So that's great. And then today is closing day for Phil's next property.
Nice.
So
Congratulations,
the 671 that Spiro seems to love
671.
talking about is closing today. We'll start going through and renoing this week, and we'll start doing a video tour, I'm sure, that we'll have up on YouTube.
So how
over the
much
next
have
few
you
weeks.
budgeted for that property in renovation costs so far?
Reno and holding costs plus a little bit of extra cushion to put into the bank account. We're looking at about 80 grand. So that's 55 for the renovation or so. Another 10, 15 holding costs, and then a little bit more for a cushion to leave in the bank account just in case anything happens. Right? Always like to keep a little bit extra aside, just to make sure the property floats, and you don't have to go back, especially because this is a JV. So I don't have to go back and ask people for more money if something goes wrong. I'd rather it just be sitting there in the bank account.
It's way better just to have it than chase people for pennies and dimes. And it's more so thousands of dollars.
Billy knows how I run it. I've
Yeah,
never come back to him asking for money. We just cut checks out of our JV properties.
Yeah, then once you sort of, I guess, stabilize and you start pulling money out, that's all it is.
Yeah, exactly.
And then we also met up on the weekend.
Oh, yeah,
We're
we
out
did.
here working on Sundays.
Oh, baby.
Yeah.
On the grind, eh?
I know.
That's for the RP.
The RP, yeah, the Real Property Investments weekender there. We're having November 3rd. So Phil and the kid and the My Capital Corner squad, the Toronto investment squad, if you will, have a booth. And I'll be speaking on the panel there. So if you haven't looked it up already, I think it was in the show notes of a couple episodes back, but maybe we'll stick it in the show notes of this one.
Yep.
Real Property Investments. It's in Thornhill, Bayview Golf and Country Club on November 3rd. You can come out, learn a lot of stuff about a lot of different investment markets.
Excited to see you all there. Better come.
That's right. Now on to the B-Dog.
The B-Dog.
The B-Dog. What's your week been up to?
Last week was had an offer, won a multiple offer with a couple clients, not investors, but they were end user homes. An
Nice.
end user home in Little Italy.
Good spot.
Yeah, 4 offers. First round, everyone was more or less in the same price range,
Mm-hmm.
and then we sort of took it to the spot where, like, we sort of predicted where everyone wants to be. We just came out a little ahead of that.
Yep.
And then we put, if you want to beat us, you got to be put in the spot where most people don't want to be.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's where we advise our clients where to put to go on that one. And then it was still kind of close. Then we just asked to shorten the closing date,
Right.
which we did, and that was pretty much for them.
Perfect.
The I guess the thing that sealed the deal that night. for
Mhm.
us. So that was that part. Then again, it's an end user home, so we're not really looking at the numbers and investments and stuff like that. But they do have a little bit of work we're gonna help them. We're gonna walk them through with.
Nice.
Some sort of I think they want to change a bit of the flooring on the main floor. Maybe knock out a wall in the kitchen, just open things up a little bit.
Clean her up. Yeah.
I know they're in the inspection report. The basement had some. The inspection said there were some footings that were not stable.
Right.
So we're gonna go in there with maybe an underpinner, take a look at sort of what the options are. The biggest project would be to underpin the whole thing, put in a basement apartment, and rent it out. The smallest project would be just to reinforce,
just repair the footings.
With some rebar.
You're talking about a difference of like 10K to 50K kind of thing, I imagine.
Well, with the whole apartment in, we're probably gonna be around 100K actually.
Yeah.
But if we were just to redo the whole basement with to repair the whole basement's footings, probably 15 to 20.
Right.
But we're able to isolate which footings need repair.
Oh, okay.
It might be less than that.
Gotcha.
So, yeah. So that was the main thing, I guess, for last week.
Nice.
I had also a little lease deal that
Sweet.
I did for a client.
Billy likes those lease deals.
I do. This was funny though. So this lease deal, I had this deal locked up, and then my client didn't show up the following morning with the check.
Oh, great.
But regardless, then because he found other accommodations.
Okay.
2 weeks after, he called me back. It's like, I need that deal back again.
Oh.
And I called the agent back. And luckily, this guy, he's a great tenant profile.
Right.
Deep 6-figure income,
Okay.
good credit, good referral, stuff like that.
And you were able to put it back together?
Yeah.
Holy shit.
Well, luckily it was still on the market, and
Right.
all the stuff checked through, and then it was good to go from there.
Not bad. That was a good week for you then.
Yeah, no kidding. It's good that you were able to put that back together.
I didn't have too much. I just sent them, and it's like, oh, she was kind of happy that.
That's good. I guess she was having a tough time or something.
Because the landlord pre-approved it, right? They like that tenant.
Oh,
right.
So they were already good to go.
Just he didn't show the
Oh
next
man,
deal.
I would have been so salty if I was the landlord. I would have been like,
no, you wouldn't. You would have
this guy's
accepted the money. You'd been like, all right, get in.
Depends where you're at. If I'm
I
like,
guess.
if it's still popular, if it's not popular, okay, fine. I'm just get this guy in there.
Yeah, just get the process going at that point.
I think we're gonna have to.
Yeah, we're gonna open the doors. It's getting a
little warm in the booth.
Should wear a t-shirt today. We got kicked on a Monday. Like this is like.
You can't say it's Monday as we're sitting here just crushing beers on podcasts.
At 11:37.
Oh my God, it's not 11.
It is the afternoon.
Look, if anybody could see.
Deep afternoon.
This guy wakes up late all the time.
Oh my God.
I rolled out of bed into a Michelob Ultra.
Okay, as we're speaking about our drinking habits. Yeah, that's. So we have a nice AC unit just outside the podcast studio, and you get that nice gust.
Yeah, there we go.
All right,
might make it a little hummier in here, but.
So, what brought you into real estate? What was the first thing that made you go, maybe this is a career path that I could take?
So, give you a little bit of history on how things worked in Toronto with sort of Asian immigrants that came in, I guess, around like the early 80s.
Oh, we're getting deep history lesson here. All right.
So like a lot of the Asian immigrants that came from like China, Hong Kong, during that time they came to Toronto, and most of them they were able to buy a house relatively quickly. Financing was easier back then.
Right.
Everything was easier. You just had to buy it. And what most people did, the Chinese families back then, they were able to rent out their basement. They rented out their basement and their top floor.
Yep.
And they lived on one floor. And that's why you see in downtown Toronto, you get like all these
illegal
3 units, right?
Yeah.
It's from back in the day, and the Portuguese did this too.
Yeah,
they
were all way ahead of us. Yeah. I mean, that's what we're doing now, but it was way ahead of schedule.
So all what we see now is the great rental areas, like the Chinatowns, little Italy's, little Portugals. A lot of these places have these illegal 3 units. So that's back in the day. That's what they did.
Yep.
So that's basically how it really started. I know my parents, when they first came here, the first house they bought was like, if you look at the numbers now, it's actually a steal of a deal.
Oh, I'm sure.
It's a little row house that we were able to live on the first floor of it.
Yeah.
It's kind of crammed, right? But the top floor had a kitchen, and the basement had 2 basement apartments.
Right.
So it was basically at that point
2 basement apartments.
Yeah.
Oh baby.
I'm back. Yeah. So I don't know how much it cost them to carry a mortgage, but with those kind of numbers.
Oh yeah.
It made things a lot
your family was house hacking from day one. That's why Billy's got the house hacking ingrained in him.
So that was basically how it, like, not how I start, but how it kind of started.
Mm-hmm.
Then I know it, I started in my early 20s. I was just really at home. I was talking with my dad. My dad was looking like this because there's like some old lady selling her house.
Okay.
And my dad was like, "Should I buy this?" And basically it came down to like, how much money do you think we get in rent? How much money do you think it would cost to carry it?
Right.
It was very simple. Like, so we're not doing rocket science here. Like,
No.
like this number is greater or less than this number.
Yeah.
I think we can do it.
Fundamentally, real estate is very easy
That's
math,
basically
right?
what it was.
Like that's
So,
I'm gonna get you when you speak. Just speak a little bit closer to the mic,
sure.
just for the viewers. It'll be easy to see,
right.
but just for the listeners, it might be a little bit harder to hear. So you started at a pretty young age. Then I would say you kind of had an idea from your family and what you guys were used to. I mean, your parents, as we said, were house hacking at a very young age.
Yeah.
So they already had that idea, and you kind of grew up with that mindset. So what was the next step?
So going back to that deal with the old lady. So that was, but my dad asked me because I had landed on a bit of money, right? So he asked me if I want to take this money and buy this house.
right.
So I'll go half with my brother. So that's what we did. Because for me it made sense, and at the time, like I wasn't thinking of sort of like get rich fast kind of thing.
Right.
In the worst case scenario, in my mind, was like over the course of the mortgage, it's gonna pay itself off with a little bit of extra. So in 30 years, I'll have at least half of a something.
Yeah.
Right. That's what I started with. But luckily for me, and luckily for any homeowner in Toronto for the past, I wouldn't say easily that past 20 years, it's been pretty rosy, right?
Oh yeah.
So in about I think it's 4 years. It was about 4 years around that mark.
Okay.
That our mortgage was coming up. So instead, I took my half out, and then I used my half, and then I bought into my own place.
Nice. It's a solo deal.
A solo deal, yeah.
Cool.
And again, back in the day, financing was a lot easier than now it is.
Right, of course.
So I was able to get a mortgage, luckily for me. So, and then same thing, same formula. Did the numbers work? Yep. Do I get more rent than I carry? Again, I wasn't like a really, at that point I was actually still in university. No, at that point I was just graduated from university.
Oof.
And I wasn't like super sophisticated into it, but I understood that as long as it carries. Now at this point, in 30 years, instead of me owning half of something,
you own a whole something.
In the worst case scenario, 30 years, I own a whole of something.
Yeah.
So, and then I guess from there we'll talk another. Well, I guess it's been 6 years now.
Okay.
Then I refinanced.
So this first property that you bought solo was about 6 years ago then.
2012. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. 7 years ago.
Yeah, 7 years ago.
Cool. Okay.
Well, yeah. When refinanced, it would have been 6 years ago.
Gotcha.
Yeah. When refinanced,
when it was refinanced.
Yeah, it was 6 years.
Yeah.
I refinanced it last year.
Oh, okay.
Then I was able to take out more equity out of it, and then with that, obviously, that equity, I went and purchased another solo.
And at the time, when you refinanced, did it still cover itself?
It did.
Sweet.
So I come from as I became an investor, I went in. I'm also a stock investor as well.
Gotcha.
So
A little deeper history on Billy.
So I took the fundamentals of value investing, and made sure that the stuff I buy had strong cash flows.
Cool.
For me, appreciation is great. It's a bit speculative. Like we're talking about natural appreciation, and not the spread.
Yeah. So that's the gravy more than anything if it happens.
So I look for strong cash flows. What was I gonna say? So yeah, well, basically at the end of it, it's still cash flow positive.
Good. That's important, right? That's very important to make sure you are still in the green, in the black, if you will, after refinancing.
Yeah.
And
So a
lot
of people believe cash is king in this kind of game.
Yeah.
So it's the same thing with Blackthorn.
Yeah.
Blackthorn, we can just keep.
Blackthorn is one of our joint venture properties.
So we can continue sort of milking it, as we say.
Absolutely.
Because
the cash flow is so high
so
we can continue to refinance in large chunks.
As long as the banks, as much as the banks are willing.
Correct.
To
exactly.
manage, right?
As long as the cash flow still remains positive after all is said and done.
Yeah.
Because that will allow you to then go and purchase another property. I imagine is what you did with those funds.
Yes, I did. So,
And I believe what's different between the way we invest in house is that, like you said, we're not speculation investors. So we're not trying to hit the home run of being like, we're going to grab this property for, $800,000,
Yeah,
and in 3 years it's going to be worth 1.5.
Yeah, 'cause
Because nobody can predict the market.
future.
No.
Exactly.
And I think that's what pushes a lot of people away from real estate, is that they think that's the way to make money, is the speculation side. So they all think, oh, real estate's all just speculation. You have to predict the market if you're going to make any money in it, which is actually false. That's not correct.
Actually, what we are, I think, is we're actually defensive investors.
Very defensive.
Yeah. So
Absolutely.
in the case that, so as long as our cash flows are positive,
Yep.
and we look for strong cash flows, if the market goes down, we ignore the market.
Yeah, we're covered. You don't refinance, you don't sell, you just hold, you wait.
We continue collecting our rent.
Yep.
And then, the markets can't keep coming down forever, because as the markets come down, people like us, we're like, oh, it's even better now. It's even cheaper now.
Exactly. That's when you buy more.
It's even cheaper now, right? So we're not speculators in that sense. We're defensive investors. We make sure the cash flows are positive. So if the market comes down, we ignore it. We continue collecting our rents. And the market goes up, then it's just rosy from there, right?
Yeah, and away you go.
And I think North America, especially Canada, is turning into more of a European style home ownership, where North America used to be, the dream was buy your own property, have your own things,
The white picket
own
fence.
it. Yeah, everything you do, own. That's like the way it was traditionally looked at. In the past, however many years, it's sort of changed to more of a landlord style real estate system.
It's a bit of a renter nation.
It is.
At least in the larger metro hubs now.
I would say more millennials are probably more keen to being renters than to owning a property, with all the headaches, the older buildings.
It's flexibility of lifestyle too, right?
It is. You can
especially
move.
in our giant tech generation where people are changing jobs every 2 years at most, to have the flexibility and not be tied down to a 30-year mortgage for some people is a benefit, right?
Yes. Yeah, so you see a lot of people moving more and renting more, and I think that's okay. A lot of people, I wouldn't say a lot, but there are people that are against that fact, saying, well, you should be able to own your own place. It's a different of opinion. Like you look at Europe, it's all landlords.
Yeah.
There's barely many places that people just own, and that's just due to the long history of it and how it's changed over the years. So I think we're in that revolution right now.
So I agree with you to some degree, but I'm gonna go back to some, like, I know in Chinese culture, owning property as opposed to renting is a very big thing.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure when you guys do your own leases for your own places, for your clients as well, you would see in Toronto as much as there are Chinese people, they actually make a very small fraction of the renters pool.
Yeah.
Like in China, it's not just Chinese culture. I would say a lot of Asian culture and in I guess immigrant European cultures as well.
It's the same.
They tend to live with their families.
Yeah, multiple generations.
Until they can afford their own place. Whereas the North American culture is like, 18, 19, I want to
get out as soon as I can kind of thing. Yeah.
So,
Yeah, you do see the difference. Even in my family, which is traditionally Greek, they've all said stay at home until you're in your 30s and then move out, until you have enough money to buy your own place comfortably. You don't have to be burdened by a mortgage. So there's a lot of that still goes on, and that's, I think, the difference of opinion of the North American style to the immigrant style, where immigrants want to own their own piece. They come here for the Canadian dream or American dream, and that's how they go about life.
So I'm an advocate of owning as opposed to renting, because I just think if you're ever renting, you're basically paying
someone else.
Yes.
Paying someone else's mortgage. Whereas if you're owning, well, you're paying your own mortgage, right?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Well, especially if you're house hacking, right?
Yeah.
Someone else is paying your mortgage and you're living there. Away you
It's
go.
kinda true.
That's a good transition, actually. So house hacking is something that you're very good at.
I guess so, but we're all kind of good at that too. If you think about it, we could all do it.
But you seem to actually hit, really good deals a lot of the time. Not that we all don't, but I mean, talk about your current deal a little bit.
Maybe the high level overview of how that whole process went. I mean, Billy's recent deal, and we know we're currently in the process of releasing episodes on the whole BRRRR method. So buy, renovate, rent, refinance, and repeat. Billy is just on the tail end of a nice little home run BRRRR with a house hack component to it as well, which is a win of a deal. But feel free to.
So I'm on I guess with the BRRRR method, I'm on the refinance part of the tail end. I just signed off with some with a mortgage agent, and I got the commitment letters and the instructions for the lawyers to do with the new mortgage. So I'm just finishing off on that part. High level on the deal. How can I describe this?
So the first step, I remember you were telling me something about when you were going to buy it. you offered a price that was just.
So here, yeah. So this house was sitting on the market for a little while. I took a look at it. I liked it a lot. Originally supposed to be a rental.
Pure rental.
Pure rental.
You weren't planning on living in it. Okay.
Originally really supposed to be a pure rental. So I next day I threw in an offer.
And
it got
oh,
accepted.
there you go. Just a dirty low ball that you weren't really planning on getting accepted.
So, kind of.
All right. Well,
it is what it is.
Can't complain.
Yeah. Well, we have to edit that part out. Someone would be watching it that age and I'd be behind a piss.
Fine. Whoever it is, no, it doesn't matter.
It was a
They're
good
not gonna
offer.
know. It was a good offer.
So, well, I guess in the day it was a good offer in the sense that the landlord, I mean the seller did sell,
Hey,
right?
it's a win-win. If they had no offers, it was on the market, they got a sale, everyone's happy.
And then what did I do after that? So, well, like anything else, a conditional period, had inspected, brought in some contractors, get some rough ideas on what things were going to cost, then firmed up on it. And I actually took a bit of more of a project management role on this one.
Yes.
Just because it ended up being I decided I wanted to live on the top floor. So I took a little more, I guess, active role into the design and sourcing. And all
if
that
you're living there, you're going to be a little bit more, a little bit more tasteful with your design on your individual unit than your kind of cookie cutter tenant renos kind of thing. Right?
And that goes to show too. A lot of people, the price you see isn't the price you need to offer, and you can just throw in offers. It doesn't really matter. I mean, at the end of the day, if they don't accept it, they don't accept it. It's not a big deal.
Yep.
If they do accept it, great. Which
Even
is
better.
Somewhat what happened in your scenario, and it happens all the time. You just have to have that push, that drive, and just do it. There are many investors that will just throw down tens of offers, hundreds of offers a week.
A lot of people I know make 100 offers to get one.
Yeah,
right?
right?
I think the book's written about that. You could 10 to 1 ratio.
Yeah.
Like, you shouldn't get an offer accepted to put it down 10.
Yeah.
I don't think that quite applies in the Toronto market where things are like multiple offers, because there's not supply here, right? You're not going to get 10 offers and win one. Like, it's competitive.
You're either going to be lowballing and be laughed at 10 out of 10 times, 20 out of 10 times, or you're going to be a little bit more competitive in a lot of cases.
Yeah.
Especially here in Toronto.
A little more selective.
Yeah, and in Toronto where things are multiple offers, there's not a supply, and often things go above asking. And I don't want to go into the speculation part of it because there is a lack of supply, generally speaking, if you don't outpay the market, in a year or 2 years, you're going to be making money.
Yeah.
But that's
generally, assuming the market continues the way it has been.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. So I don't want to speculate, but because there's just not enough supply, it looks like that's the trend. So.
And that's what you're seeing too. Lately, you've been seeing the increase of a lot of high rises popping up all over the city. I get probably a different email every couple of days from a different high rise.
New condo going up.
Like, come see our units or whatever. And I think that's one of the leading factors that you can see that there is a supply shortage and the demand is way too high. So they're building all these units to meet that supply.
Yep.
The demand.
I still don't think they're building fast enough. I think
I don't.
I think it's something like 1,000 new units a year and 8,000 new people coming into the city a year, right? Which is,
I think it's even higher.
Yeah,
I think both numbers. I know a large part of it's. I think back at least maybe 5 or 6 years ago. I remember you guys heard on the news a lot. They're saying Toronto's overbuilding. And then I guess they introduced a lot of legislation that sort of...
They slowed it down for a week, a little bit.
Slowed down the process of getting these things built. And now we're in a situation now they can build fast.
Yeah.
And I guess that's what it
There's
is.
a lot of new projects. It seems like this past year and a bit, a lot of new projects. I don't know if they've loosened up the legislation or if a lot of people have finally just broken through. But there's a ton of new construction happening all around the city now, right?
That's good.
It is good. It's very good.
It is.
It's a pain sometimes to live with, but in the grand scheme of things, it is good for the...
I know in your area right now, there are condos going up everywhere, right, Phil?
We've got 4, 5, 6 on one corner, right?
Yeah.
It's insane trying to get in and out of... This is in Liberty Village. Trying to get in and out of that Strawn East Liberty corner some days is absolutely bonkers. They've even started... Because everyone's in that like concrete pouring phase, so there's times in the morning... wonderful time at 9 o'clock or 8:30 when people are trying to walk to work. They'll just completely shut off the street so people can't even walk down East Liberty.
Nice.
Oh yeah, but I mean, again, it's just one of those things that we have to live with.
And you still make it to work on time every single day.
I know, because
how do you do it?
Such a great quasi-employee.
Okay, back to the your burr. So Billy's burr. Maybe that's the title.
Okay.
Yeah, that's it. Boom.
Billy's burr.
So had a budget for the project. I went over budget.
Surprise. Does
Well,
any project stay on budget?
Yeah, I think everyone sort of goes over budget at least a little bit.
Especially when it's yours, right?
Yeah.
You get a little bit more customized.
Well, I know for your floor you did use the a little bit fancier finishings.
Yeah, I did use a little. I would if I were to purposely build this for rental.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have chosen those.
Yeah, of course.
Right,
Yeah.
But the good thing was the market's been pretty good. The rental market's been very strong. So so my original projected rents were higher than what I was projecting.
So what you got? Yeah, what you got was higher than
what I modeled.
Yeah. So it's also good to be, I mean, I know how you work, right? It's good to be conservative on the front end so that it's all win on the back end if you do get more, right? But you know you're safe if you don't.
Yeah. So so usually when we model it, not just for ourselves but with our clients, we give them a range and we'll always say we'll at least probably get to this range.
Yeah.
On the low range, just to make sure, and even at the low range, the numbers will still work. So that's part of the defensive investing mentality. So.
Exactly.
And then again, the project went over budget, also went longer than expected as well. However, when the appraisal came, it also it came in better than I predicted as well. So in that sense, I was quite happy.
Yeah.
And basically, I'm in a situation where I can live there relatively inexpensively.
Yeah.
and refinance it, and then maybe hopefully start a new project kind of sometime. So
the home run burr, if you will.
So what percentage would you say, just roughly, did you go over budget? Percentage wise, or
30-35%.
Okay, so a decent amount over budget.
Yeah.
But I think that is largely due to you living in it as well,
Yes.
and you putting in that extra.
That is.
Especially if your initial projection was not to live in, right? If the initial projection was all rental.
Yeah. So that's easily made up. Like that's the reason. It wasn't.
So large part of it was like, well, it's basically what it is. Like all of a sudden, like this, like what I would use for rental grade stuff.
You did a little bit
I
nicer.
did extra, and then all of a sudden,
of course.
And even other stuff like. So if I kept it as a rental, I wouldn't have, like, I also put in more washrooms and ensuite bath and ensuite laundries and stuff like that.
Right.
If I didn't live in there, like there'd be less of that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Right.
It'd
You
be
could
more
maybe
basic.
have done a common laundry, one bathroom per unit kind of thing.
That kind of stuff, right? So, but because I ended up living in there.
So that's not too bad too, and you did reap the reward of a nice refinance, and then
So then that was the other thing. Then I know you guys were talking about this before. I made sure that whatever I put into this, like I still wasn't the most expensive house on the street.
Yes.
So that I had to spread the work with, right?
Yeah.
So like I wasn't going overboard, and then I can't get back on the refinance.
Right. Yeah, because you can't go in and put gold faucets everywhere because you're not getting that money back.
So
right?
even when I modeled it fairly conservatively, like with the extra that I put in, I was like, I also probably at least get most of it back.
Right.
So
That's good.
I support the recapture that capital. So
Yep.
that's the reason why I did it.
That's
good.
good.
Yeah.
So actually touch on that a little bit more. So I know we know this because we're in the industry, but there's that saying you don't want to be the nicest house on the street. What does that mean exactly to
So
you?
generally speaking, a lot of people there's a general consensus, and a lot of people would say you actually won't be the cheapest house on the street and buy the lowest end on the street.
Yep.
This way you're not leading the street, and you know if you're looking to upgrade, well, there's room to upgrade first of all.
Yes.
Because there's somebody else on the street who's already did that, and they're over there. So you have, I guess, one, you're probably not overpaying since you're the cheapest on the street, and two, if you want to upgrade it, you can upgrade it without without the fear of the market coming down, and you being the most expensive guy on the street, and you taking the hit first.
Right.
So it's like there's already a model in play that you can kind of model your whole project on. So let's say you buy the worst house. There's the best house is your neighbor, and it's a 30-story, and yours is a bungalow. Well, you'll know, okay, this is what they did. You have someone to talk to if they're willing to talk. If they were the builders, you have sort of an idea, and you have a price range of, okay, I bought this for $500,000. This one's worth $1.2 million. If I put in this much work, this is what it's going to be worth, and you kind of have that whole idea.
Yeah,
going
and that's
forward.
usually how, like, I think you guys touched on this before as well. How the investors and the builders, that's where they look for the spread, right? They look for the cheapest stuff in the area, and the sort of like the stuff that they can sort of build. They can build, and they take the two, and they figure out what they're going to cost, And if the numbers make sense,
exactly. If you start with the nicest and then you throw $1 million at it after that,
then you basically
it's all speculation, and you're just hoping someone's going to come in and think it's worth the value.
Yeah. And there's tons of homes in the GTA
in
in Toronto that you do see that with. We spoke about it on the last podcast where they just sit for months on the market because they're overpriced. They put in so much money into it. They thought this is going to bring, I think you used the Taj Mahal. They thought it's going to be so nice. People are going to be willing to spend whatever, but you're not in a nice area. It's not going to work.
Yeah, exactly.
It also is good for defensive investors. Like you said, when usually the first thing to get hit is the most expensive house on the street.
Yep.
And when the market kind of corrects a little bit, that $1.5 million home in the $1 million area is going to drop down to 1.2 or 1.3.
Yeah.
Where the cheapest home is still going to relatively keep its same price range, maybe lose a little bit more, but percentage-wise, probably not as high as the high one.
It's the same concept in things like vacation rentals, right? When the economy starts to hurt a little bit and you have the first things that people cut out is that little frivolous spending or the little excess that they maybe don't necessarily need. You need a house, you need somewhere to live. You need a roof over your head. Does it need to be the absolute nicest thing by a mile on the street? No, it doesn't, right? So if economy starts to take a turn, less and less and less people are going to be interested in that particular asset, which then, like you said, turns a 1.5 into maybe a 1.2 or something like that in a scenario like that.
So back to the Burr. Billy's Burr.
So let one last statistic, if you will.
Okay.
How much of your original capital not on a dollar figure, let's talk as a percentage, capital put into that project is coming back to you? And I know it was, and let's just leave it at that. Guesstimation.
It's not 100. It's not 100.
Okay, so it's pretty close.
I think it's above 80 though.
Wow. And that's in Toronto. That's in Toronto numbers
is in
too.
Toronto.
So I think anybody listening could kind of assume what the numbers are looking at,
and he still lives in it for damn near free.
That's a
good deal. It's a good deal. It's a good deal, sir. So we talked about kind of when you started, why you started, we talked about how you started too, but I mean, what were you doing to get started? Let's say you must have been an iBanker making hundreds of thousands of dollars a year. That's the only way someone can start buying real estate in Toronto, right?
No. Obviously no, right? And a lot of it has to do with when you got in.
Yes.
That makes a big part of it.
Mm-hmm.
So going back to it, I had a bit of a head start, luckily for me.
Right.
I did. If I didn't have that, I probably wouldn't be where I am right now.
Right.
But at the same time, where I am right now, but I think I would end up in the same trajectory. I might just be lagging behind where I am. But I think eventually it would still would have made sense to make.
You caught the same idea.
Go in this direction.
Yeah.
Let's just.
Would have taken a few more years.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So do you have to be an iBanker? No. What you do need now, unfortunately, it's become a little more difficult.
Of course.
Is financing.
Yeah.
And you need some sort of down payments. It was easier when they really changed the
couple years
ratios.
ago.
Mm-hmm.
When was that?
The ratios?
Because before they allowed equity down payments, like 35% in, you get to go no matter what, no questions asked.
Mm-hmm.
And then they took that off the market. I forgot what year that was. But now that they have it all on ratios, it's become a lot harder. Do you have to be an iBanker? No, you just need to get the financing, I think, and then it starts from there. You can either buy into the lower end of the market. We're talking about obviously buying condos, which is basically the entry level of what real estate you can buy, or you can buy tier 2. We're not talking Toronto now. We're not talking in the outskirts of Toronto.
Right, but just getting into the market and like what you did, right? Just to get that snowball started, get it going, and let it start.
So here's the thing with real estate. So it's been rosy for the past 20 years, but the idea of real estate has never been, I'm gonna get rich quick.
Yes, of course.
It's always
long-term
been
game.
It's a long-term game, right? Like with any investment. I think the best investments, and Warren Buffett would agree. Warren Buffett always says the best investments are the ones that you can hold for a lifetime.
Yep.
And there's not many companies that I would comfortably hold for a lifetime. Real estate is one of those investments. When clients ask me what's my holding period, I basically tell them
Forever.
I'm married to my real estate.
Yeah.
I'm not selling this shit. So
yeah,
it could basically generate money till I die, right? So
yeah, of course.
more or less. So I'm married to this shit. So
And hopefully by the time you die, it's going to be all paid off. And or you keep
mathematically it'll be paid off before I die, unless I'm unfortunate.
Yeah. And unless you keep refinancing.
Billy gets hit by a bus when we leave this podcast studio, apparently. No, so, yeah, I mean, there's that point of refinancing as well, right?
True.
Which
That's
I'm sure as you age and maybe you hit a size of a portfolio where you don't think it's maybe a value add to continue to grow, and you can start to pay those things down so they pay you more instead of having to collect more and more assets, right? Everyone's going to hit a certain point, I'm sure, where paying them down makes more sense. But as you're in a growth stage, there's no, I mean, for us at least, understanding the market, being defensive, making sure things still cash flow after you refinance, there's no sense to not pull as much money out as you can of each of your investments to then do more.
I think the only reason why people will stop doing it, it becomes too much work. When the initial thought was I want to do enough so I don't have to work as much.
Yeah, and then then you keep going and going, and you're at 100 doors all of a sudden, and you say, hold on, maybe we'll
the same thing, right? I'm back to where.
Now I'm back to a job.
Back to a job again.
Yeah,
exactly.
We have one client. I'm not going to get into details, obviously, but who's bought many properties, has a very successful business, and has gone to the point where wants to pass down the business to family members. Mm-hmm. And now they're realizing they're in a full-time business again.
Yeah.
They have to manage all their doors.
Yep.
Which is, again, fine for this individual. They love it. It's not that big of an issue, and you're making a lot of money at the end of the day.
Right.
But at that point, once you hit the retirement goal, again, this individual is extremely successful, so has a bunch of money sitting. It's not like, they need it. Mm-hmm. At that point, you can sit back and do whatever. At that point, you can sell off 5, 10, 15, 20 properties and still be, making that much money.
Yep.
So, you had that preference level, and all depends what you want to do.
Yeah, different people at different preference levels.
Yeah, of course. Every investor's going to have a different...
I think in Toronto, because the rent market's so good, if you want to keep leveraging, you can really find numbers that continue to work.
Yeah.
You can comfortably leverage, even though you're heavily leveraged.
Yeah. Year over year, as as property prices rise, and as you look at continually pulling out more and more money, at least this is maybe no indication of the future, but at least in the past, the rent has risen so that you're able to continue to do so and more or less break even.
So that's very important. I think I remember if you look back at 2017, when it was really high, the numbers did make sense. A lot of numbers did really make sense, and that was when we were like, it was actually very hard for us.
It was tough. It was tough for us to find properties for clients.
It was very tough for us to buy that year, just because nothing really worked.
Yeah. There's multiples on everything, everywhere,
and going so high, it's like we can't,
hundreds of thousands over.
We can't even buy this because what we do with it?
Yeah,
we buy to sink more money.
You buy it to break even,
or buy to sink more money into. It makes no sense, right? But luckily, the market corrected.
Thankfully, things came down.
Corrected to a level that's very acceptable right now. And then the market might come down a little bit, but at this point, as an investor, if the Toronto market came down, I'd be happy. I'd be buying more. I'd be buying, right? Be buying. So I think it's okay, especially a good indicator of where the market's actually really at. Look at condos.
Yep.
So the condo market is a little bit high, in the sense that the best investment condos right now, the better ones, they're about break even. Maybe
that's good. That's an amazing condo deal.
Maybe a bit tad cash flow.
Right.
So if it came down a bit, then a lot of the stuff becomes just above the cash flow positive line. So that's why I think the Toronto market, the condo market, it's kind of pricey, but it's not crazy pricey considering where the rent prices are.
Yes.
So
yeah, and where they continue to go, especially when you look at things like the core, right?
Yeah, and if you go back to what's basically comes down to, which is supply. Yep. Which is not enough, then it just keeps driving the prices up on rent. So I think, and if you look at Toronto as a metropolis,
which we more or less are.
We are, and just look at how many people come here, why they come here, and how strong our economy is, and how diversified our economy is. Toronto's a very good place. You just look at all the Canadian banks are here.
Yep.
I would say all the other major countries' representatives are also here. All the big tech is here.
Yep.
What
Or a very short distance away from
Yeah.
here, if not.
we're basically Waterloo.
Here to Waterloo.
Yeah.
So, and the big techs they have, their hubs are here.
Yep.
Right.
Google's planning on building an entire section of the city here.
Yeah.
If you look at how many universities we have,
Mhm.
how many people come
It's
to
crazy.
And how much
many
international
how many colleges
we
we
have
have?
for the schools coming,
Yeah.
yeah.
And then obviously all the immigrants, and even look at something like as a good staple of the city's economical strength, sports teams.
Yeah, I was
Yeah.
about to say that. Yeah.
We're the only Canadian team that has everything, and
Yep.
the only reason why we don't have American football is because for some reason we thought Toronto Argonauts was a good idea. Like
That's the only reason. I think if there was an NFL team outside of the U.S., it would
be
probably be in
Toronto.
Toronto.
Yeah.
That would make the most sense.
So it's not like Toronto's like so heavily dependent on something that where something that didn't work, then all of a sudden our economy goes down.
Mm-hmm.
Right? We're so diversified and we're so strong because we have a lot of people coming here, and we're at the point now we're not just letting anyone in.
Yes.
Like you gotta have money come to Toronto now.
Yeah.
So, right.
And they do. The ones that do.
Yeah. They do, and they come here and they buy right away.
Yep.
Yeah.
We're basically what it is, right? So, I think Toronto's a pretty good place to be in.
Absolutely.
If you're already in it.
We obviously agree.
Yeah. So and this was what when people always ask, like they ask me, how's the market? I don't like that question in general, first of all, but first my response is
Such a common question too.
Yeah.
Just generically.
How's
the market doing today? Oh God, here we go.
But I usually start with if you're a homeowner,
Yeah.
you're liking it.
Yeah,
if
of
you're not
course.
a homeowner, you're looking to buy.
Then you're hurting.
Then it's not as good as
Yeah.
it was before,
Yeah.
basically, right? So it depends what side of the fence you're on right now.
Yes.
So you touched on Warren Buffett for a little bit. Who do you look to for not guidance, but kind of like a boost? What's the word I'm looking for here? Who do you look for inspiration? That's the word. Okay. There we go. For investing, not just in real estate, but in anything. Like, are there books that you read, or is there any book that you want to promote?
Recommend.
Well, I think the most one of my favorite book that I always recommend to people when we talk about investing is the Intelligent Investor.
Oh yes, the Billy Bible, as we call it,
by Benjamin Graham. So he himself makes a good point in it. When you read this book, you either get it or you don't.
Right.
So to some people, this style of defensive investing, it'll never make sense to them.
Right.
There's some people who like this because they understand the numbers and it makes sense to them. And there's some people who's like, I'd rather buy Bitcoin no matter what
the
the price
Bitcoin
is.
boys.
I'd rather buy wheat stock no matter what it costs.
Right.
Because it's going up.
Because
going up
I
every day.
could, being the operant word, quadruple my money in a week.
So,
but I probably won't.
Yeah.
So it depends where you are.
Yeah.
And again, we go back to the style of investing. You don't expect to get rich overnight.
Yes.
No.
But you will over time.
You will over time.
If you are diligent.
Yeah. So
it's like if you can play the lottery, knowing you're not going to win at the moment, but in 30 years' time, you're going to win a pretty good amount. That's like what investing in real estate is.
Yeah.
Where doing the Bitcoin thing is like literally just playing the lottery. It might work, or you might just lose all your money, which is more likely going to happen.
So that's I guess a book we're talking about. I would go with that. Inspirations. I don't know.
Guess like a Warren Buffett. Pretty much every investor.
How much Coca-Cola do you own, Billy?
Coca-Cola. Investing. I don't know. I guess those are real inspirations when it comes to stuff like that.
It's his own inspiration.
I guess that's what it comes down to with people with the investor mindset. I think you have to kind of light that fire under your ass yourself, kind of get yourself to that position where you can invest. That's the hardest part for many people.
Starting
is just getting to the point where you can be an investor.
Yep.
So it's reading all the books you can, learning everything you can, listening to the podcast, and at the same time making the amount of money that you need. That's the most important part. I mean, there's a lot of people who can invest for free, but those are good negotiators and good pitchers.
Yeah.
Like
if you're starting to play with those other people's money deals, you really better know what you're doing.
Yeah, you better be amazing at what you do and have it all planned out.
And playing with other people's money, you gotta be amazing and have credibility as well.
Yes.
Most people, if you're pulling them on a deal,
yeah,
and you say you're gonna be on it, at least once you have some skin in the game.
Yes.
Right? So unless you're like your proven track record is pretty much flawless.
Mm-hmm.
Almost no one's gonna say, okay, I'll give you all my money.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
You gotta put your money.
You gotta put exactly.
Put your money where the mouth is, right?
So I think the last thing we'll touch on here, because we are running now pretty long, your fitness routine. I kind of want to talk about it a bit. So you are a gym addict.
I am.
I would say. How many times do you go a week?
7.
7
Unless
days.
Unless work get busy. Yeah.
Unless work gets busy, then it's 6.5.
Yeah, no kidding.
And what got you into that? So how long have you been doing that for?
About 11 years now.
11 years.
11
Right.
years, yeah.
So what got you started?
So I used to be a little overweight, kind of overweight. And my dad used to take me out running because he thought I was fat.
I love it.
Billy, you gotta come out running with me. Fine. Then one day I tripped over a twig. Like I literally tripped over a twig. I twisted my ankle. I sprained my ankle. I went to the doctor. The doctor said you can't run no more for this short period of time because I had a big sore.
Right.
So and then I went to and then I got the idea to go to gym because I have elliptical there. It's low impacts.
Yeah. And then from there,
and then what? You saw all the jacked dudes in the gym and said, "I want to be like these guys."
No, actually, I just wanted to lose some weight when I first started.
Oh, okay, good.
Yeah,
but then by the time you were done, it was just an addiction, and you kept going and going. I'm making up Billy's story here for him.
I guess so. It's like now. So a lot of people always ask me this, like because I go so often. It's I really enjoy it, so it's very easy for me to go often. So just same way, you might like whatever hobbies you like, whatever they are, and whatever hobbies you like to do that are effortless.
Yes.
And you look forward to it. For me, this is sort of like the gym and the fitness lifestyle. So it's very easy for me. So it's like it's whatever.
It's a good habit to build.
That is a good habit.
That's a good. I need to
anyone
put that in
out there
place.
watching, I suggest or highly recommend that exercise be part of your daily life, because I think it just improves everyone's quality of life. You can only benefit from regular exercise and watching or having some sort of mindfulness of what you eat, kind of thing. So
I agree.
So
So what's one last thing I suppose aside from Billy's fitness regimen, what's next? Billy's obviously come to this point. He's not doing so bad. What's the next frontier for Billy Hsu?
I don't know. I've been sort of hovering around that question for a little while now, actually. I know a large part of it is I've been working quite a lot in this past 4 or 5 years since joining the company.
Right.
I do want to take a little more time off of sort of like I don't know. I just don't think I'm just looking for that more of a balance where I can do things that don't. I do them because I need to pay the bills.
Yes.
Or I don't want to keep doing these things on a regular basis because I have to just basically do for the sake of money.
Right. So you can at this point maybe focus a little bit more on what you actually want, what's fulfilling.
Or I don't know, because there's so much things to do in life. I don't know. So it might be anything. So, but I do know more of this is involved in it because it's I find that the work is valuable not only to ourselves but to our clients and to everyone involved.
Yes.
I even talk about how the products that we create being affordable rentals here in Toronto. Because like now we're not building like executive suites for only executives. Like we're building stuff that young professionals and sometimes students rent.
We're making rental units for the every guy.
Yeah, and this stuff is valuable to them, right? So we're actually helping the economy in a very, very, very good way. And again, it's not. And when you realize it's not only about you, and there's other people who put their trust in you, and they continue to put their trust in you, then you also got to keep helping them, right? If they want to keep growing as well. So that there's sort of professional and moral responsibility there. Yeah. To help them achieve their dreams, and that's part of what we do here.
Yeah. It's quite a bit of good fulfillment in that in helping a newbie investor, if you will, get started and really on that path to financial freedom.
Yeah, I like how you touch on that point though too, because it is a pretty fulfilling job, and it's fulfilling for everybody involved. The investor themselves, like taking us out of those shoes, and us as the agents too, helping them get to their goals and seeing them all of a sudden be able to afford their children's university fund. And it's that much easier for them where they don't have to work that extra job. They have their investments now that are making money for them, and all the different opportunities that real estate investment does bring up. Yeah. It's very fulfilling.
It's true.
Yep.
Yeah. And that's a large reason why we anyone who's comes through those doors or comes looking for us is looking for that sort of path to financial freedom.
Yeah.
and this is a very, very viable way of getting there. And we're not, and again, we're not selling you Bitcoins thing. We're selling Bitcoin $20,000.
We're no Mason Beck
Selling you next year's
stealing Phil's face and
$40,000.
selling shitty Bitcoin.
Right? Like the stuff that we buy, it's actually valuable to people,
Yeah.
right?
It's proven.
It's like people want to rent this stuff because it's affordable rent.
Yeah.
And we want to rent it too because it's profitable rent.
Yeah,
Right.
exactly.
So,
It's a win-win.
Yeah.
Win-win on all sides.
so
All right. So thank you guys for listening. I think we're going to wrap that up here. Hopefully we'll have Billy on again soon in
I'm
a
sure
short
we
time.
will.
I think they were expecting like more niche shit talking. So I don't know what.
All right, we'll have a next episode.
I don't drink half of this.
Billy shared way too much real knowledge this time.
Yeah.
Next time it's just going to be straight shit talk.
Yeah, now you get to know Billy. Next time we'll have him on and just fuck around a little bit. All right, guys. Thank you, Billy. Do you have any last words you want to say?
I think we need a sponsorship from you. Paycheck.
Mikolov, you heard that. Billy Hsu told you.
That's it.
Billy Hsu told you. That's your new saying.
Is that the podcast title?
No,
No.
it's no.
Billy's Burr.
All right, guys. Thanks for listening.
Take care.
You can find us on YouTube, iTunes Podcasts, Google Play, Podbean, Stitcher, and SoundCloud. And now, Spotify.
Why would you do that like that?
I don't know.
I was not expecting that at all.
Make sure to comment, like, subscribe, and share with your friends.
You're going to leave it like that?
Yeah, I'm going to leave it like that.
Oh, okay.
That's
Sure.
fine.